NAT gateway is a network address translation. So consider we have two subnets. One is a public subnet, another one is a private subnet. So we know that a public subnet is able to access internet because we already created a route association, and route table will be have a route to internet gateway. But when it comes to our private subnet, we don't have any internet. So consider in our private subnet we have an application or we have a database. For the patching activity or any other activity, so we require an internet connection. So what we can use here, so we can create an NAT gateway on our public subnet, then we can bring internet to our private subnet. So NAT gateway only allow outbound traffic, so it will ensure security as well. So we can use NAT instance or NAT gateway. So previously we were using NAT instance, that is less available. So the admin has to create a NAT instance. So we have to purchase that from community. Then we have to do. So nowadays we using NAT gateway, that is highly available, and we can create up to 5 NAT gateway by default in a availability zone.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the type of NAT gates? How many type of NAT gates we have?
We have a static and dynamic, right, sir? I'm not sure about that, but
okay. Okay.
And we have a like a NAT instance also we have, and as well as we have a NAT gateway also we have. So what we can convert one virtual machine into NAT instance, and we can or else we can take a NAT gateway as well. We can go to VPC, and left panel will be available NAT gateway. We can take it.
Okay.
Yes.
So how you are good with Lambda functionality?
Sir, actually I did a small project in Lambda, but first of all, I'm telling actually I don't know what is a Lambda. Lambda, I know it is serverless computing, like so we can create automation or everything over there. See, in our organization actually we need to reboot entire like database, not only database, whatever the patched virtual machines we have, we need to reboot that. So we have some set of list over there, for example ring 0, ring 1, ring 2, ring 3. So we were just categorized like that. So we need to reboot this all machine once we done the patching. So we used to do that manually. So I created a script, but the script actually not I created myself. So I referred from like a Stack Overflow. I went through ChatGPT, and I went through like my colleagues, and so I created that script. So whenever this patching is done, so once the maintenance windows come, for example 3 o'clock, automatically all machine will be reboot. So we can save some time over there. So I created that, and we did a lot of testing. So then only actually I got the improvement. And I took the initiative for that. So nobody is going to insist you to do that, but I took that initiative.
Okay.
And as well as like I created one more script that for finding unused EBS volume. Like so we have some set of EBS, like so we need to find unused EBS volume. So we'll be have a value 1 on 0. Actually I'm not remembering that, but if it is attached, is it a 0, and if it is not attached, value 1, like that. Actually I find out that by using if and else condition something.
Hello.
Yes sir. Hello. Hello. Hello? Hello? Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 minute, sir. I'll be change my internet connection. I think actually my internet is already accessed. 1 minute. Sir, am I audible now? Hello? Sir, am I audible? Hello? Hello, sir. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Please, sir.
Sure. Just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Like so I created one more script for like to find out unused EBS volumes, like that I find out. So if it is attached, so we will be able to find like attached is equal to 1 or else 0. I'm not remembering that, but actually I done that.
Okay.
Yes sir.
So could you please explain me the difference between the S3 gateway and the interface gateway?
Okay, S3 gateway and interface gateway. Okay, so basically the gateway interface actually we can only use S3 and DynamoDB. But when it comes to interface endpoint, actually there we can use like most of the all services from AWS supported. And as well as when it comes to gateway, actually we using gateway over there, we using private IP address. So again, when it comes to like this interface endpoint, actually we using interface over there. For example, elastic network interface. So gateway endpoint actually we creating on VPC, but interface endpoint we creating on subnet. And interface endpoint actually we using DNS, but when it comes to our gateway endpoint, actually we using private IP address. And gateway endpoint actually we not using any security group, but interface endpoint actually we using security group. So these are the basic difference. And when we using private link, for example, if I want to connect from outside of a VPC, be in the VPC, so at that time actually I can only use this interface endpoint. For example, if I want to create a security VPC and I want to create a centralized security over there, so I can use gateway load balancer endpoint. So that I can only use by using interface endpoint. I cannot use gateway endpoint for that.
Okay. I have a scenario for you.
Okay.
For example, I have set up the NAT gateway.
Okay.
To one of my instance.
Okay.
Okay. And from the instance, I want to launch some cron tabs.
Okay.
Like to launch some application jobs.
Okay, fine.
Which was on the EMR serverless.
Okay.
Okay. Now I want to know whether my traffic is going through the NAT gateway or not to execute these serverless jobs.
Okay.
Whether the traffic is going towards the NAT gateway or not. So what was the mechanism you follow to monitor them, whether the traffic is passing through the NAT gateway or not?
Okay, okay. Like mechanism in the sense, sir, actually I didn't get you, if you don't mind.
I mean, many other tools, what are the tools you gonna use to monitor them, to monitor the traffic in and out from the NAT gateway?
Okay, so actually where we can use like a trace route, trace path, this kind of tool we can use. We'll be able to find the the path and all. So we can use that command, trace path or trace route we can use. And as well as when we executing curl space if config.me, we'll be able to find the IP address as well. For example, so consider I have a Linux machine. The basically Linux machine would not have any graphical user interface. But if I want to find actually which NAT gateway I'm using, so we can use curl space if config.me, and that is going to print the public IP address. Since already we don't have any GUI. If you have a GUI, definitely we can go to browser and we can search what is my public IP address. So actually I got a scenario from my company as well. So I find out like curl space if config.me.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So as we discussed that, what was the type of NAT gateways? Is it any type like public NAT gateway or the private NAT gateway?
Internally we can use private as well. We have a two method. One is a private, another one is a public. While we creating a NAT gateway, so we have an option over there. For example, whether you want to create a public or private. So if it is a public, so we can access like I think from outside, like we can connect internet. So if it is a private, so I think we can connect on premise as well. So that kind of activity we can use. Internally we can use basically private.
Okay. So how much you are familiar with the Ansible and Terraform?
Like on a scale 10, I can mention around 7 or 6. 6 to 7 I mentioned.
On Ansible?
Ansible 6 to 7. Say.
Yeah. In that case, I need to copy a file from worker machine to from my local to my local.
Okay.
So what was the module you prefer in the Ansible playbook?
So we can use like a copy module we can use, or else we can use synchronize module. So if we using copy module, so that is going to copy, we know that. But if you using synchronize, so that is not going to change. Like whatever the incremented data, that only will be copy. So we can use these two modules.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you. The copy module where we can copy from the local machine to, the
destination
node machine,
remote machine, correct.
Yeah, the worker machine to the worker machine.
Correct, sir.
The scenario was different here. I need to get the file to my local machine from one of the nodes, from one of the instances.
Which means first we have to take the file from somewhere, then we have to copy to somewhere, right, sir?
No, no.
Ah,
Currently the file was in one of the nodes, in
okay.
one of the worker machines.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I need to get those files to my local machine where I'm executing a playbook.
Okay, okay, got it,
I
got
mean
it. Ah.
yeah.
See, I'm not remembering. Like for that also, actually we have a module. So, like we can get that from different system, like a remote system. So then we can store, either we can store in our system, or else what we can do here, we can copy from there itself without saving. So we can take that from that remote system, then we can copy to our remote server, and we can mention actually where actually we need to copy this. That also we can mention over there. What all or not.
Okay. If that was the case, if I want to copy the same file from one location to another location within the same node, the same worker node.
Ah.
So how can we copy that?
From different node only, sir.
Already on the same node, just I want to copy the file from one location to different location to another location.
But actually we can give like a different destination, right? That we can give over there.
Yeah, but the file was not in my local machine. The file was already in the one of the worker node only.
Okay.
Just I need to copy it from one location to another location.
Okay, got it, got
so
it.
Is it?
It's possible. See, what I'm thinking here. Actually, first we can take the file from the remote to our local or our master. From this master, actually, we can copy to the destination. As far as I know that, I don't know actually. So do we have any other method?
No. Okay, I agree with you. Just copy from the remote location to master, and then from master to the remote.
Correct.
Okay, if it is one file, then it won't take. Okay, it won't take more than 2 minutes.
Correct.
What if there is a folder which consists of 1,000 files?
Okay. That
and we have to work it on the 5 to 10 machines for the same.
Exactly. That would be very difficult. Or else, here actually, without using this, actually we can do one more thing. We can create a shell script. Somewhere I read that we can use PSCP, putty, secure copying files, or else we can use SCP as well. But actually we have to create a shell script over there, and we will create a list. In the sense, we will create a file. In that file, actually we will mention all the target node informations. Okay, then we can create this script, and we can copy from that particular location to that location. That also we can do. I'm not sure about that because I didn't get the scenario yet. That's what. Definitely we'll be have an option.
Okay. Just one more thing on the Ansible. While playing the Ansible playbook, I need to pick the IP addresses of the nodes.
Okay.
Worker nodes.
Okay.
Why? Because I'm executing some of the configuration file.
Okay.
For the configuration file, I need to place an IP address of the worker node.
Okay.
For example, the playbook is running on the worker 1. I need to get an IP address of the worker 1, and I have to place it on its configuration file.
Okay.
So, what was the module or what was the parameter you have to include on the playbook?
By default, actually, we think we have an option, the fact. Whenever our Ansible is running, so this fact is going to check all systems. So in the sense, what is the CPU and what is the architecture, what is the IP address, what is the private IP address, everything. So we can use that, but I don't know how to cut and how to take the only the IP address. So I have to look into that as well. But we can use fact over there. By default, fact will be there, and if you don't want, we can disable that option. That also one option we have over there.
Okay. So, what is the use of providers like Terraform?
So providers basically, so wherever actually we applying our infrastructure, so that actually providers. Inside a provider, actually we have to mention version, region, and actually which provider actually we using, and what is our secret access key and access key. So that also we have to mention. Either we can export that, or else we have to create a role, or else we have to mention that secret access key that we have to mention. So the provider can be a New Relic, GCP, AWS, Azure, it can be here.
Okay. So what is the use of state file in Terraform?
So state file actually that is mapping our infrastructure. For example, whenever we have a configuration, for example, VPC and Bastion host. So this configuration that is going to apply while we execute in Terraform space apply then space minus auto approve. So actually, so when we creating automatically the state file will be created, and this state file will be determine what are the resources actually we created in our AWS account or Azure account, wherever it is. So once our Terraform state file is lost, then actually it's very difficult to remove that, because we have to do manually, we have to do, or else we have to do import command, then we have to recreate the state file again, then we have to delete it. Anyway, we cannot recreate our state file again, so we have an option like it's very hard to create that. We can use Terraform import command and we can take one by one. And mostly we will keeping our state file in backend itself, like a Terraform, like a console or S3 bucket, or else in Google cloud provider, or else Terraform cloud provider, where we can keep it.
So what is a null resource? What is the use of null resource in the Terraform?
Null resource, as far as I know, like so if any values, like for example I have a EC2 machine, so if I'm changing that EC2 machine value, for example T2 micro to T3 micro, or else M series to any R series, so at that time, so I can mention this null resource. This also will be executed at that time, so I can trigger that. So whenever any value changing from my resource block, it will also execute. I can use a provision, like a local execution or provisional execution. I can do that, or if one object is not supporting in Terraform, that also we can include in null resource. So as far as I know, I'm not used that, but
so just coming to the Ansible, any playbooks have you written so far?
Yes sir, exactly.
So what was the playbook?
Playbook, actually it was a small e-commerce application, and I created that e-commerce application by using Apache. So then one MariaDB will be installed on another server, and automatically the MySQL, everything is going to install automatically over there, and it will connect the database and everything. So I have a SQL file as well, and this SQL file automatically init to that particular database. Actually, I already put that in my GitHub also, and if you want, I can show you that, and I can explain as well. I can share my screen as well if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, should I?
Later on,
okay.
Just not now.
No,
we can go it in the last.
No,
just don't want to get interrupt in the middle.
Got it.
Just in the last, we'll look into it.
No issue. Oh.
So what is the monitoring tools work so far you?
Like when it comes to like AWS, I was using Datadog, but now we're using like Prometheus and Grafana and ELK. ELK for logging, and Prometheus and Grafana for monitoring.
Prometheus and Grafana. So how you set up the alerting system?
Like so I'm not used to do. No, I'm not used to do that. Actually, I was only monitoring that, like the cluster and namespaces, node, and that and all.
Okay, so only the monitoring part you were looking to it, right? There is no not related to the configuration stuff, right?
No, exactly, correct.
So what exactly in the monitoring and what exactly you are doing if something was wrong? Is the troubleshooting as done from your part related to the DevOps side, or you will be intimating to the respective teams?
Like so I'll do troubleshooting as well, like for a scenario. So like last week actually we have a development stage over there, and our actually one container is there. Actually it's automatically it's starting and it's turn off. So actually we don't know what is the exact issue, but the problem is actually we didn't specify any resource for that, like memory and CPU. That was the issue, and I just went 2-3 like describe and like the inspect and all. So then only I find out, and I just mentioned that resource and memory over there. That's it. Like that kind of a small like troubleshooting I'm doing over there.
So as you mentioned, now in the container we have specified the resource allocation. So how we are going to specify the resource allocation in a compose from the compose file?
In compose file actually we have an option like in Docker compose only, right sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
in Docker,
exactly.
Okay. Docker compose, like there we can mention resource. Then we will be have an next line limit. I think so. Limit. Then we will be have a CPUs and memory that we have to use it.
Okay. What about the Nagios? Do you have any idea about the Nagios?
Nagios also is a kind of a monitoring tool. So we can use monitoring our cluster, and as well as like we can do like namespaces and node and everything. So if anything happen, we can go through that and we can just find out the metrics and we can go. And we can do alerting as well over there. So something happen unexpectedly and we'll be get alert. So if it is returning 10 minute or 5 minute, so we can use it like.
Okay. Okay. I have one more scenario for you. For example, I have a Swarm cluster. Okay, with some 3 managers and the 5 workers.
Okay.
Now I need to deploy one of the service.
Okay.
in worker 4,
Okay.
how can you specify it? It should run on the worker number 4 only.
In Swarm, actually I don't know, sir, because actually Swarm I only learned, like myself I learned Docker Swarm, but when it comes to this Kubernetes, actually we have a lot of options. We have we can use taint and toleration, and we can use schedulers, custom schedulers. We can use labels, we can use node selectors, we can use node name, and we can use pod affinity. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, sir. So when it comes to Kubernetes, actually I have a good experience on it. So we can use node name, node selectors, and we can use taint and toleration, and node affinity and pod affinity, and these and all we can use in Kubernetes. But Docker Swarm myself I learned, so that's what I don't have much exposure on it in Docker Swarm. I don't know how to schedule in a particular node.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're comfortable with writing a Docker files, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So just I need to write a Docker file.
Okay.
After once the file was built, like the Docker image was built, while executing it, it should run as a non-root user. The Docker image should run as a non-root user.
Okay.
So what was the parameters, or what was the functionality we have to use it on the Docker file?
So we have to create a instruction over the user, then we have to specify the username over there. That's it.
Okay.
Like that we can use, like a user we have a instruction, and so we have to specify the argument as one username. So except using like a root user. If you're not mentioning any username, so by default it will take as a root user.
Okay. So what exactly the command do in the Docker file?
So that is going to create a user on that particular name, and by default that user will be have some kind of a permission. I think so. I'm not sure. But that user should not have any permission as a root user.
Okay. So how can we use the Docker file within a Docker file, like the multi-Docker images? How can we create a multi-Docker images? Based upon the one, for example, let's take a Docker image A, add some configurations to that.
Okay.
Based on the image, we have to create the other image.
Okay, got it.
Based on the part A, we have to create the part B on the Docker file, on the same Docker file.
Like a multi-stage builder, right, sir?
Multi-state builder, yes, multi-state Docker file.
Okay. So that we can write a Docker file first, then after we can create another Docker file. We can, whatever the actually output we got from the first file, so we can take in second, we can take output as input in second Docker file. That we can do. So I think the benefit is actually, so the unnecessary things, so that we can remove. So we can reduce our Docker size, we can reduce. So when it comes to, for example, this Java node, so while we building our project, actually we not required Maven after building the project, after creating the jar file or war file. So first we can create a Docker file, so there we can build our building project, that particular file. Then after we can create another file, there we can add our output, that we can do. Maven actually we not required at all. So we can reduce the space.
So what is the command? How come you specify the command in a Docker file to use it? The output of one Docker file to the input of another file. So what's the command you prefer in the Docker file?
I'm not sure, but so we can copy, we have a copy command and we have an add command. So that is going to copy from the local system to the container. So that add also
yeah, I agree with you that the copy and the add, that's fine. But my question was, we have to specify it in the same Docker file.
Yes. Correct. That I'm not sure, sir. Actually, I don't know that.
The thing was, we use the from command, right?
From.
So it's a Docker image. Once it was done, when you are going to start the second image from Docker image as to the previous one. As from the previous one. So you have to specify the previous image file over here.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So how much you are familiar with the Linux administration?
7 out of 10.
So what is the command you prefer if I need to get an IP address of the DNS name?
Sorry, sir.
What's the command you prefer if I need to get an IP address of the DNS name?
DNS name. So
IP address attached to the DNS name. IP address attached to the particular DNS name.
Okay, so we can use a dig command, domain information grouper, or else we can use NS lookup, like a name server lookup. These two commands we can use to find out IP address.
Any load balancers apart of the digital AWS load balancers? Any other load balancers you work? So you have any knowledge about it?
Yes, sir.
So what was those?
I worked like application load balancer and network load balancer. I know the concept of gateway load balancer as well. So in our organization, actually, we have a centralized security VPC. Actually, whatever the request actually be getting to the application and as well as whenever accessing to the application from on-premise. So first it will go to the centralized VPC. So there actually we using gateway load balancer, and we using microtrend as our virtual appliances. Microtrend.
So what exactly the HA proxy do? Why we use the HA proxy?
HA proxy, that is a high availability proxy server that is basically take the request and that will distribute among the fleet of instances. So that is going to do, and so that will keep the anonymity. For example, when we access into the server, actually we cannot find the actual server public IP address. So when we access into google.com, so we don't know what is the exact IP address of a google.com. So we accessing to one proxy server or a load balancer, and the load balancer actually that is distribute the traffic among the actual servers. So that is the exact work doing, and we can do the cache as well. So that will increase the efficiency and anonymity, and that also we can do high availability.
So what was the algorithm they follow? What was the algorithm we use in HA proxy?
HA proxy, I don't know. So basically we will use round robin, and we can use like least connected, and we can use sticky, like 5 minutes we can stick on one particular server, then we can go to another server. So when it comes to this this network load balance, we can use flow hash algorithm, tuple 2, tuple 3, like that kind of algorithm we can use.
So among these, what was the efficient one? As you mentioned, like sticky, the least connection, and the round robin. Which one was the efficient one among these load balancers?
So that basically according to the requirement we can use, but even though, so see, if a server is actually same configuration, for example, I have a 10 servers having around 8 gigabytes memory and 5 virtual CPU, then I can use round robin over there. I can use it. Or else one of the my virtual machine having good capacity, so then I can use sticky as well. I can stick on that server like one particular, or else I can create a wait as well. For example, that higher system or higher capability system, I can have a 80% request, and the lower configuration systems I can have a 20% request. So that also I can configure like that.
So currently you are working on which company?
6D Technologies.
So what was your team size total?
Total in DevOps, actually we are a 3.
In DevOps?
Three only, total 3.
Okay, so what was your role in the 3?
3 in the sense,
I mean your daily responsibilities or
daily responsibility, that is according to the requirement. So whatever the task our team leader is giving, so I have to do that. See, even if we don't have any task, he will do the R&D and have to do that. So that's it. So yesterday actually,
no, I agree with that. I agree with that. But a part of the task which is assigned by the team lead, as a DevOps engineer, we will be having a daily some routine.
Correct.
Like routine things. We have to checking all the endpoints, or checking all the alert systems, or checking all the services. Is everything what was your daylight, what exactly you do?
So basically, so we will log in, then we will monitor every half an hour. Actually, we have to monitor at least like a node and our cluster that we have to monitor, and as well as whatever the task is giving. So basically, I'm getting task. So I'll give a scenario for that. For example, yesterday actually I got a task. I have to create a SSO for a Jenkins. Actually, we creating a new cluster. So for that cluster, I have to create a new Jenkins SSO. So the user will be have only one credential. So we will bring all our application to AWS like Jenkins and Bitbucket and this kind of application. So already completed Jenkins SSO. So now like tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I will present that. I will introduce that. And last week actually we have another task, and so that was prolonged like till today. So that was a cluster cleaning. So we had a previous cluster and we changed that cluster into a new cluster. So we need to remove some kind of services and deployments and all. So that we have to do. So I'll do that with my seniors, and so they will support like that. Okay. And one more thing, I created a deployment and services, everything. So that is not regularly like a regular work, but even though I'm doing that, like I'm creating services and deployment and everything like.
So exactly, could you please explain me in short about your project? What was your project and what was your role in the project?
Okay, so basically it's a book publishing application, and previously actually we were hosting this application on Amazon EC2, and so we have some kind of application that is hosted on Elastic Beanstalk as well. So now we migrated those applications into EKS, so that's what we creating a cluster. So I didn't contribute the entire production, but I created a QA cluster from the scratch. So now I'm supporting this book publishing application. We have a 2 region. One is Ireland, another one is the United States, and we supporting the United States region as of now.
Okay. So if you want to use connect the Ireland region and the US region, so how you are going to achieve?
So we have a peering. So that is not like a production. That is not like a production VPC. So we have a peering connection in between.
Okay. So, for example, there is a one machine in the some in the Ireland region which is in the private subnet, and in your region it's in the private subnet.
Okay.
So how you are going to connect these two?
Okay, from my local system, right, sir?
Yes.
So we can use VPN. Actually, we connecting those IP by using VPN only. See, once we connect any connect, so then we can use the private IP address. We don't need to use the public IP address and all. But actually,
my question was, yeah, please continue.
So we usually connecting through private IP only. So we don't have any Gembox and all. So we're not using Gembox or Bastion host or Gembox and all. So we will connect our VPN first. So once we connect the VPN, then automatically it will take it. Like we have a secret, we have a certificate that by using the certificate we can connect. That's SSH key.
Yeah, that means just my point was, are we using any IP shell or IP SSH tunnel or IP tunnel? Is there any?
No, we not using SSH tunnel and all. Instead of we using VPN.
Okay. So what exactly the namespace do in Kubernetes?
In company.
Do you have any other schedule? Do you have any other schedule now?
No.
Any other meeting lined up?
No, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Sir, in my company itself.
Sorry?
In my company.
No, currently. Yeah, no. Just in general, I'm asking.
Okay.
What exactly the namespace do in the Kubernetes?
Okay, what is a namespace? Right, sir?
Yeah.
A namespace, actually we can create one cluster into subclusters. For example, so I have a cluster. So what I can do, I can divide this cluster into subclusters. So there we can create actually development, and one is for QA, and we can create a resource as well. For example, this namespace should only use the limited space or limited resources, this CPU, this memory, actually we can specify that. Or else we have a multiple application. We now need to create multiple cluster for that. So we can create in a namespace. Or else in our cluster actually we need to implement or we need to integrate one monitoring tool. So we can create a particular namespace for that monitoring tool. Then we can implement. Or else one security purpose we can create a particular namespace. So whatever the request actually getting into the particular cluster, it will go to the that particular namespace. Then it will redirect to our application database server. Sorry, containers.
What was the difference between the hard links and the soft links?
Okay, soft link basically it's like a shortcut. So that will be have a different inode number, but hard link will be have a same inode number. The soft link, so once we remove the actual file, automatically it will remove from the end. But when it comes to the hard link, so it will not remove. So we can remove the actual file, but it will remove the end.
So what was the swap space?
Swap space basically in our virtual machine will be have a memory. So what we can do here, so if this memory is ran out, for example 90%, then we don't have any space to allocate upcoming processes. So we can create a swap space from our hard disk. Then we can allocate all inactive or inactive applications over them. So we can specify the swapness value. If swapness value if we set 90, so then the 10% memory will be used, the 90% will be go to our swap space. If we specify 90, then 90% memory will be used, and 10% when it comes to the 90, then only it will migrate from the physical memory to virtual memory, in the sense RAM to our hard disk. So we can specify that.
So what was the how can we achieve the auto scaling in the Kubernetes? So what are the types of auto scaling available in the Kubernetes?
So we have a HPA and we have a BPA, like a horizontal port scaling we have, and we have a vertical port scaling we have, so that we can use.
So what is the difference between these two actually?
Like a horizontal port scaling, that is going to create one more container with the same configuration, and vertical port scaling, that is going to stop the container or we have to recreate. So we will be have a downtime in between. And the existing container will be increase the size. For example, we have a 2 GB RAM over there, and that is going to increase into 4 or 6. We can do that vertically we can increase.
Could you please define me the differences between the continuous deployment and the continuous delivery?
Yeah, sure. So continuous deployment in the sense, so continuously we can deliver the updates. For example, whatever the updates our developer is doing, automatically that will be built and that will be tested, and that after the testing it will be go to the deployment stage. For example, it will deploy into our Kubernetes cluster or Docker containers, ECS, wherever it is. So the integration, then you're asking integration, right, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, integration in the sense we can integrate between our GitHub and as well as then the testing environment. From testing environment again it will go to the deployment stage. So that's a continuous integration. So previously actually it was first the developer actually they have to create the application, then have to send to the operation team. So they have to test it. Testing team, they have to test it. Once the test is completed, then have to send it to the operation team. Then they have to do the necessary action for deployment. So that we have to do. There is no integration in between. But this actually continuously we can integrate each level and we can automate the complete process. So whenever the developers are creating the new code, if there is any bug, automatically this CI/CD tool automatically inform them, and they have to look into that. Again it will recreate, and again it's sent to the testing team. It will test all the code by using Selenium, or else we can use JI unit, that kind of testing tool we can use. We can use Sonar Cube to analyze the complexity and all we can use over there. After the testing completed, we can send to the deployment stage. If it is a Kubernetes, actually we can use Argo CD as well over there. For example, Canary and Blue Green deployment as without any downtime we can use it.
Okay. Yes. So what was the branching strategies used so far in your organization? I mean, not in your organization, so far in your work.
So we have a stable branch, so that's a master. So under actually we have a developer branch. Basically developers actually they will take a branch. So whenever actually they want to create a new commit, they will create a branch from there, and whenever they created that, they will commit to that. And we have a release branch, and so that's it. So we have a release branch and developer branch, and as well as so we have a master branch, and whatever the commit done after completion, they will commit into the master after end of the day.
Okay. So I need to take a clone of the one repository.
Okay.
But for example, in the repositories, I have 3 branches.
Okay.
Let's say QA, staging, and the master.
Okay.
I need to take a clone of the QA branch to my local machine.
Okay.
So how can we do that?
Like so first we can specify like the git clone, then we can specify the github URL. So something we have to specify that for taking the branch, we can specify the branch name over there, like after the URL. Same as like we can specify depth is equal to -1. So that is only going to take the last commit. So we can reduce the downloading time while we using CI/CD. So that I done like minus depth, something we have to use over there.
Okay. So what was the difference between the git fetch, git pull? What was the difference between the fetch and the pull?
Okay, yeah. So git fetch actually that is going to pull from the remote repository, and git pull that is going to do two actions. One is a pull, another one is a merge. That is going to merge into our local directory as well. That in the sense whatever the file actually we have in local directory, that is going to change. But git merge actually going to pull from the remote repository, local repository, but that is not going to change any local directory. So that is the difference.
So what was the difference between the active and the passive check-in Nagios?
That I don't know, sir. Even I didn't hear about it.
Okay, no issues. So what type of databases you worked in? MySQL, Postgres, and MariaDB, right?
MySQL. MySQL used and MariaDB also used.
Okay. So have you heard the word the cockroach DB or
no,
which
Postgres,
Gigabyte?
No. Postgres I heard, and MySQL, MariaDB, and Aurora, and Oracle DB. These and all I have at least I have familiar, but.
Okay. You have not done any configuration work related to the letting system, so I can't go in depth of it. Only the monitoring, you were aware of only the monitoring part instead of the configuration.
Yes.
So if I want to lock a Terraform state file, how come you lock it?
So we can use like a DynamoDB. We can use along with a REST3 bucket. So we can use lock ID in DynamoDB partition table, and so then after actually we have to do like a Terraform space init, and that is going to lock our file. So whenever any two developers accessing to our Terraform state file, so the first user will be able to access, and second user will be able to access after once the developer one is released that. Or else we can use like a minus log false, so that we can use, and so we can release. That also we can do.
So if I want to get the Docker logs on the Grafana dashboard, so how can we achieve it?
From Grafana dashboard.
Yeah, I need to see the Docker logs. For example, any of the Docker container was running on the Kubernetes. I need to get the Docker logs, I mean the pod logs on the Grafana dashboard.
So from left side itself, we have an option log. There we have to go. Then we have to select the container name over there. We have a timestamp as well. We have to select the timestamp as well. Or else we can directly go to the terminal. Then we can execute Docker space logs. Then we can execute the a container name, whatever the container we have.
Yeah, I agree with you, but the thing was, for example, the developer has pushed his code to the CI/CD pipeline, okay, to the GitLab or the repository, whatever maybe.
Okay.
All the CI/CD pipeline ran and it got deployed in the Kubernetes cluster.
Okay.
But we are not giving any access to the developer for the backend servers or somewhere in the Kubernetes cluster somewhere. Just
Correct.
Only we are providing them the front-end part, like the Grafana dashboard or the access to the Grafana.
Okay.
So how come the developer know something something has gone wrong in his code? Okay, where it is getting all the Docker containers are getting all the logs.
Okay.
How come the
Okay,
Yeah.
like see sir, actually we can use Linux only. So that actually not only Linux, we can use Grafana as well. Like we can find out info, error, and one type of like errors over there. Or else directly we can go to Linux and we can execute Docker logs. Then we can achieve the container name. So we can specify the grep command. We can specify the error, whatever the error. Or else.
That's, I agree with you. That's what as a DevOps engineer we can do that.
Correct.
Okay, let's think the scenario as a developer.
Okay.
Okay, developer doesn't have any access to any of our servers.
Correct.
We are restricting them to SSH to the server also. So how come the developer know what exactly went wrong in his code? Okay, the pipeline has got passed and the sonar queue was clean. It has given as a green.
Okay.
Everything was clear for him. But ultimately whatever the goal he has to achieve once his code was deployed, he is not able to achieve his target.
Okay.
There is some logs which he has to get it from the running pod.
Okay.
So how come he get those logs?
Like he can use the monitoring tool, right? He can go to the monitoring tool, then he can get it from there itself.
That's what my point was. My point was we need to display the pods, the Kubernetes pod.
Yes.
Okay, I need to get those log of the pod into the Grafana dashboard.
Okay.
I want to display the logs on the Grafana dashboard.
Okay. Got it.
So how can we achieve it? Is there any plugin available to it, or how come you are going to achieve it?
I think
it's the task given to you.
Yeah.
If it is a task given to you, okay, I need all the Kubernetes pod logs into the Grafana dashboard. How we are going to achieve it?
Like we can take log into Grafana. So by using Prometheus, actually we can use over there. See, we can use Prometheus and 2 to 3 target actually we can use. So for that, first we have to create a Prometheus container in our like a Kubernetes cluster. So we can use any metric server. Then we have to create a service account for authentication, because actually this Prometheus actually need to scrap all the logs from our containers, right? So that's what. So we will create a service role. Then we will create a role binding between our service role and our Prometheus pod. So this Prometheus pod will be able to communicate and it will be able to scrap all the information from all pod. So once it done, then this Prometheus will be store all information in a particular directory. We can use persistent volume over there, and this by using this Prometheus target we can push this into our Grafana. So that we can do. Then after we can go to Grafana, we can create a dashboard over there, and we can just get every log. Like we can do that. Then after we can create a user for our developer. We can give that username and password for a developer, and he can go to Grafana. He can see all the logs, like whatever can.
Okay. That's it from my side. Nice talking to you. Any questions for me?
No, sir. Actually, if you don't mind, okay. So could you please tell me actually how was my interview and all? Like,
yeah, it's good. And I can't go further on the part. HR will get in touch to you on. But okay.
Okay.
That's it's nice talking to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh, പൊന്നെ PF അത് ആക്സെപ്റ്റർ അല്ലേ? ആക്സെപ്റ്റർ പണി കിട്ടും. ആ ഒഴിവായിക്കളാം. നിങ്ങൾ വരുന്ന ഇന്റർവ്യൂ കാണണം, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് കാണാൻ പറ്റും. വാ മോനെ ചില്ലറ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഒന്നും അല്ല കേട്ടോ, അത് പിടിപ്പിച്ചവർ. മോനെ ഒരു ലക്ഷം എവിടെ ഇരുന്നോ, കാരണം ഇത് ടി വിയിൽ വെക്കണില്ല കേട്ടോ. ഇവിടെ ഇത് കണ്ടോ,
ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ഇങ്ങനെ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും.
ഓരോ അറിയാതെ റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്യുന്ന
ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ
മോനെ ഒരു രക്ഷയില്ലാത്ത ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. ഞാൻ തല പിരാന്തായിരിക്കും.
എത്രല്ല
3 കൊല്ലം, പക്ഷെ 1 ടഫ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആണ്. ഫുൾ ഡെവോപ്സ്. അല്ലല്ല കണക്ട് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ നിങ്ങൾ ഇങ്ങനെ കണ്ടോളി. എടാ ഒരു രക്ഷയില്ല, കാരണം എന്താ ടഫ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആയിരുന്നു. എനിക്ക് ഇന്ന അപേക്ഷിച്ച് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ടഫ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. ടി വി കണക്ട് ചെയ്യണ്ടല്ലോ, ആൾക്കാർ രണ്ടായ മോശം. അത് ശരി, റെക്കോർഡ് ഇപ്പോൾ ഓഫ് ആയി. 1.5. ഓ